What's going on, everyone? Vampire Gaming here, and today's the day. All right, so we're bringing here an ace deck profile. Before we dive in, you've probably seen this list on Twitch. I've been live streaming and practicing over there, so feel free to check that out. Link in the video description, along with a link to TCGPlayer. If you're looking to buy singles to play this deck, you can shop your singles at TCGPlayer using the link in the video description and support the channel on singles you'd already be buying. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in here and talk about it. As we know, near the end of OP-04 format, I was playing something that was similar to like a Newgate-esque resembling build. So we're taking a similar approach here this time around too. Of course, we are playing Double Search, we're playing Nami, and we're playing Izo. I don't love it, and let me express that. I don't love it. Because if you whiff one, you're just like, you're down tremendous, and it actually makes a huge difference in the game. However, this allows you to search the Rush Luffy, which is big, especially with Sakazuki playing a bunch of blockers. So it really matters, along with Enel too. So we really want this. We also, like, again, in that Sakazuki matchup, we really want our rushers and these bodies, and these two here are searchable. The only rusher we have searchable on the Izo side is Ace. Technically Jozu, but he's just a 2K. But yeah, so we're playing 4 Otama. Otama's a staple. The minus really matters. And then, of course, it's the best 2K. We're playing Nami. We're playing 3 Nami, not 4. I think this could be, in terms of flex cards, I think Nami is a flex card. Newgate, I'm playing 2 copies of Newgate. Newgate is a flex card. He's great. I'm playing him right now just because of Birdcage Doflamingo. He's been showing up at my locals, and you just don't want to be caught off guard by it, because if they do drop a Birdcage, we only play 2 cards that can't be Birdcaged. And so while we do play the rushers, these two are the only cards that are going to get away with it outside of Newgate, and Newgate's a really strong card. But yeah, Newgate's flexible. It does add up to that no counter that we're playing, which we don't love. And I've had a couple instances when I've been playing this deck. It's had it bricked up in terms of no counter. You can play potentially like Bad Manners Kick Course, again, searchable by Nami, which is really solid. But yeah, we also have Jozu. He's another 2K. We're just pitching this. Rarely ever going to play this. Ace, the MVP of the deck, honestly the best. I stand by this card's the best red card. This and this Luffy, they're both the best red cards ever made. This because it's amazing. Like I was testing around with Sabo. I was like, if I could just play this Ace, Sabo would be so much better. Just because that's how powerful this card is with Rush. And then you of course have red purple Law, which also plays it without Rush. But yeah, this card, best red card probably in the game. Makino matters. Makino is really strong, especially since we're playing both Nami and Izo, so Makino has more targets to boost. So yeah, I like the 12 2Ks. It just feels really good, especially when we're upping the no counter cards. And then of course we just got him back. We're playing 4 Marco. I think this is correct. I will say there are instances where I miss Fosa. I really miss Fosa, and I'm just like, man, I really just wish I had a Fosa, because he's cheaper to cast. And so that's really nice, and it really matters. I think there is some mix you could play with this and Fosa, especially depending, because there have been a number of instances since I am playing Nami and some Straw Hats, that I haven't been able to discard to save Marco. So he's really just a giant bluff. So I don't love that. And then we've got Izo, best card in the deck. Obviously, it searches. It gets us to all of our cards, gets us to Marco, gets us to Ace, gets us to Flame Emperor. Really can just search anything that we might need. It's got it inside for you, something like that. But then we're playing 2 Marco. The reason why is because it isn't as event heavy. The Marco is obviously still great, but our swingers are going to be Rush Luffy. And then we also play this Luffy, which gives us the advantage against Enel, since they play the Rush, or they play the Rush Enel. And it's a 7-drop, but it loses ability if we have Luffy. And then, of course, going second against anything but Sakazuki, a 4/6 is just really solid. I think you could, honestly, I wish I could play this at like 4, or at least like I would want to commit either, if I wasn't playing Nami, I'd just be playing Atmos. But you could possibly consider cutting just Namis and playing like 4 Atmos. I do miss like Thatch and things like that, but because they're really good into every other matchup that isn't Sakazuki. This is really just built on the idea that you're going to face a lot of Sakazuki. But this, of course, again, it really helps. Same with him, because, like, they can't bottom deck, but if you can establish these really strong, and they can generate you a lot of value. And then, of course, this Rush Luffy MVP, you got to play him. Newgate's back. People are playing Newgate. You play this a turn, and you just leave him inactive. You attach all your Dawn. You swing. You possibly do a bunch of other baby swings to eat their hand and try to get those events before you go in with him or really determine what you want to do with your turn. But absolute behemoth of a card. Best card in the game. Like him and Ace, the brothers, best cards in the game. This card wins games. It defines games. And it cheeses wins. It does it all. It adds pressure. It lets you out bodies while they have blockers. Like he can do anything really. So I absolutely love this card again, kind of while we're playing the Nami, because Nami gets to this Luffy, because this Luffy just puts in so much work when you need him. And then, of course, we've got Sanji. We're playing 2. This is essentially replacing Thatch. Whitebeard also like adopted that, and this card's seen a lot more play just because that rush and having a rush counter is huge. But there have also been instances where my opponent doesn't have a 5,000 attack, and then like establishing this is very weak at that point, and you don't really have anything else that's really strong on a 6 Dawn curve. I will also say the deck has some weakness on the 3 Dawn curve. Of course, if you establish a searcher, you can go 5/5, which is okay, but I don't love it. But like a 3-drop vanilla isn't gonna do it. Like you could, again, there are flex spaces. I think there could be like Rush Zoro if you really wanted to. Like I'd maybe replace Newgate with Rush Zoro, just because when you're going second or when you're going first and you go on that 3 Dawn curve, you don't really have any plays except for just attacking. And then like into Sakazuki, you go 5 and they just swing over it with brand new, and you kind of lose it. And it can't like 1-for-1 on brand new, which also makes me sad. You could also play Dodon. Dodon is an option here. I actually have another build. I built a slightly more event based removal build. And I was playing that, and I played 1 Dodon just because I had room, and I'm a fan of one-offs, like as you can see here with the Seaquake. But yeah, we're also playing 4 Radical Beam, works perfectly with the Marco. You rush down to 2, then both of these are live. I really don't like playing this on 3 either, because there are a lot of cards that can remove it. On that, like this card is easily removed now, so you really don't want to play this a turn early, like anticipating to go down. You really just want to play this when you're at 2, and it's really hard to find the opportunity to just have this established, because especially with Newgate, if you have Marco and if you play Newgate with a Marco on board, you're living your best life. And so that's like super ideal, and it's just harder because like yellow can remove it, black can remove it, everything can remove it. So but the blue bottom decks, which is really unfortunate. Same with this here, but like if Sakazuki burns through everything, it makes these Newgates even more powerful. But yeah, and then we play 1 of Seaquake. I could see this being 2. If you really wanted, you could play Nico Robin. Newgate plays Nico Robin. I think this is the better card. If you drop an ace and you can Seaquake like a 6K, and then you can Seaquake something like a body like Lucci, and then you can swing into all their bodies, clear their board, and also just like crack 7 at the face. So big fan of this. I would love to up this to 2, just because it comes up, and it also just gets rid of Rebecca's for free for 1 Dawn. And then of course MVP of the deck. The only reason really to play this deck, if this card didn't exist, I probably just would not have played Ace, because this card's absolutely absurd. But yeah, you can KO anything up to 8K. It is unfortunate with right now in our meta, Sakazuki's playing Mihawk, which is right outside of that threshold, but Borsellino falls right within it, so it's perfect Flame Emperor range, so definitely keep that in mind. And of course, you've got like Newgate, so you can drop the Otama on a Newgate and then play this and then swing 8 even on Whitebeard, which is also pretty nice, because this card, if they have it established, you can't get rid of it, really just puts in work on your life and really adds that pressure. So that's big. And then you've got Kaido. The Kaido, I'm not playing Crossfire, and so 10-drop Kaido is a slight problem, so that's something to take into consideration if you think you'll see a lot of that. And then we've got Guard Point. I think Guard Point can technically be a flex spot, because you're playing for Radical Beam. This could very well be Bad Manners, Kit Course. I also want to play Jet Pistol. I've been experimenting with Jet Pistol. Fire Fist also, but the problem with those is they're good into anything else, but if you play Sakazuki, which, like, obviously you would want to drop it against Sakazuki for their Kuzan, like Jet Pistol or Fire Fist, they can play Sabo, and Blocker Sabo turns off all of your events, and that's a big, obvious rise in the meta. But yeah, these, again, just to highlight the flex spots, Nami, Newgate, Guard Point, maybe this Luffy. Like, I think a 4-6 is ideal, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this Luffy. And you could, of course, like, tier it just slightly more towards the Whitebeards. You could play to Dawn. If you really wanted, you could play Buggy, but I don't play enough events. There's a possibility you just whiff. And Nami searches half of your events, so there's that. And then, of course, Jet Pistol is also searchable. But yeah, if you found this content of value, if you could do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. And then also, again, I do plan on live streaming more just as we're gearing up for Nationals. I'm going to be testing a lot. I'm putting in that work, so definitely check out the Twitch. Link in video description, twitch.tv/VampireGaming.